I'm happy to report that I've sold my Nissan Skyline. But before I move on, I've decided to make one last video that sums up my Skyline ownership experience. First up, driving experience. The Skyline is one of the most enjoyable to drive cars that I've ever owned. It just had the perfect amount of power, and the steering wasn't so over-assisted like it is in so many modern cars. It was fast but not ridiculous, it sounded great, and the shifter and clutch were so much fun to use. I can't say enough good things about this car's driving experience. It was that good. I can, however, say a negative thing: right-hand drive. I never really got used to right-hand drive, like so many owners of these cars say they do. Part of the reason could be because I didn't drive the car every day, or really all that much at all. But it was always a little annoying to have to remember where to position the car in the lane, and to lean over when I'm making a left turn, and to explain to people, no, the car's not British, no, I'm not from Britain. Speaking of attention, that's something I thought I would never get in the Skyline, but it was constant, both from people who didn't know what it was.
Where are you from?
Where we live here.
You live here? Where'd you get the car?
The car's from Japan, I just imported it.
Oh, nice, that's great.
And from people who knew.
I drove one when I went to Japan.
Oh yeah?
Best thing ever.
Everybody wanted to talk to the guy driving the right-hand drive car in America, or the guy who imported the Skyline.
Wait, so is there something wrong with the car or you?
Well, it's on the right side. And in the end, I think this car got more attention than my Ferrari did. No, if they're 25 years old, they're legal. They're legal now.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they only come on the right?
Yeah, only on the right. It also got attention from the police when I was pulled over twice in one night for a minor license plate violation.
Driving on that side of the...
What's that?
Why are you driving on that side of the car?
I imported this car from Japan. And
Good for racing these cars, aren't they?
but that's Skyline life, yo. Speaking of Skyline life, owning the Skyline gave me an opportunity to do some really cool stuff. For example, it was in the Simeone Museum, parked next to a Ferrari 250 GTO and a pontoon fender Testarossa. I took it to a dyno, courtesy of my friends at AWE Tuning. And we discovered that it had a lot more power than advertised. 281 horsepower at the wheels. Yeah. And I had a lot of fun comparing it to some other cars over the last year too. So which one should you get? The Scion Justy GL. And don't even get me started on the engines. Yes, these two cars technically share something in the sense that they both have twin turbocharged 6-cylinders with all-wheel drive. But that's like saying that an elephant technically shares something with an easel because they both have 4 legs. Comparing these cars is like comparing your grandfathers. They're both getting up there in years, and they're both a little old-fashioned, and they both smell a little differently than you're used to. But you love them both equally. If there was one bad part of Skyline life, it was simple. Other Skyline owners. This was an interesting group of people who constantly voiced their disdain for my call-ins and videos. They told me I was writing about it too much, that I was bragging about owning a Skyline. I told them I'm only writing about it because my readers suggested that I write about it, and that's my job. And I'm not bragging about owning a 25-year-old Nissan when my previous car was a Ferrari. But they wouldn't hear of it. They were relentless. And I came to realize over the time that I've owned my Skyline, the Skyline is a lot like the E46 M3. It's an excellent car to own, as long as you don't go to any owners' meetups. Speaking of owning the Skyline, I think it's important to discuss ownership costs. Now, I bought my Skyline a year ago for $20,995, and I sold it a week ago for $21,000. That means I made $5. Who says cars aren't an investment? I'm not generally a fan of most Japanese cars, and I went into the Skyline ownership experience without much knowledge about it or much interest in owning one. But I can safely say, after the year is completed, that the Skyline has been the best of the 4 cars I've owned to write about so far, the others being the CTS V-Wagon, the Ferrari, and the Hummer. It was fun to drive, it was understated, it was exciting, and it cost me virtually nothing to own. But it's off to a new owner in Kansas now, and I'm out of the Skyline world for a while. At least until the R34 becomes legal.
You are about 5 feet over the line.
Really?